Gururmurti Pujamulam Gururpadam Mantramulam Gururvakyam Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa Om Shri Gurave Namaha.
Expanse in which everything is moving is totally occupied by the presence of the Maker. He is present everywhere. As I yesterday explained, he has no attitude towards anybody, good, bad, kind, unkind, angry, loving, nothing like it. His total awareness of all that is going on in the creation. There are good things, bad things, ignorance, violence, selfishness. All things are there in the creation. Why does he not react to anything bad? Because it is his own creation. So simple. Because he has not excluded anything from his purview, and he is in the continuous state of motion. The entire cosmos, everything is evolving. Even a megastar is born and then becomes, the star is also dead one day. So nothing remains in the shape, in its own shape forever. But one thing is, like we have the theory, conservation of matter, the totality, the cosmic matter, it remains, but it has a habit of expanding and contracting, in which in the entire cosmic scheme, our Brahmanda, our solar system is a very, very minor. It's the size of an atom or an electron compared to the size, total size of all the hills put together. That is the size. So we have a right to be ignorant, but also an responsibility to attempt to know. Our birthright is to be ignorant, because were we not totally ignorant when we were born? Mother was taking care of us. So it's nature. But once we start growing and experiencing good, bad, liking, disliking, hoping, expecting and things, our attention to the surroundings from the personal point of view, me and the world, me and the entire city, me and India, me and the whole globe, from his personal perspective, then he starts a particular fashion of things to happen to suit his like, his taste. So in that sense, he is the performer of karma. He is reaping the benefit and good and bad results of his karma. Because what we call egocentric, for example, we say, what is egocentrism? Everything is being looked at from an individual personal perspective. Suppose we leave this phenomenon aside and think of being one with the all-pervasive, and there is no karma, there is no present, future, nothing happens. We have to constantly remind ourselves that there is only one creator, sustainer, and one who withdraws everything into himself, and is present everywhere in the entire cosmic system, cosmos. We are an insignificant part of it. Our earth itself is such an insignificant part of his personality. So our existence is as good as non-existence. size-wise, capacity-wise, thought-wise, intelligence-wise, whatever is attached, all the properties of the individual, they mean nothing. So that way, an attitude will be able, will be able to develop an attitude to realize that I don't exist at all in this cosmic things. There's nothing that, in fact, hardly 50 years ago I was not there, another 50 years later I am not going there. Even during my existence, my size is only this much. Where do I exist? I don't exist at all. That kind of a self-annihilation, not exactly self-denial, trying to behave, I am above all these desires, I don't seek anything. No, I itself must go. Ascribing any great qualities to I itself is not very correct. It's not there. I am not existing. I don't exist anywhere. That is the ultimate. In this vision that you can develop, you ask for anything with security of this country, security of the mankind on the globe, or the a fear of destruction in the near future or in the distant future. If you, whatever you might wish as a non-existing entity, still because the thought is still working, consciousness continues. That works. Unlimited boons are granted. The ancient times in India, the Rakshasas, the demons, did great tapas. They meditated on the form of Shiva or Brahma and they obtained everything. But during the silent meditation on the form of Shiva or Brahma, that self was absent. They forgot their own personal existence as an individual ego. Attention was totally transferred to the shape, name and the object of Brahma or something like that. That is why they could obtain any number of boons. The human being has a limited capacity. He thinks in terms of himself and his attachments, his people, his relations, his past, present and future. So during the meditation, the yoga tells you to annihilate yourself, get yourself dismissed, don't exist at all. That art of tapas was known to them. The devas, the divine personalities in the Sargam, that is the heavens, they were not capable of doing that tapas as the Rakshasas did. Why? They were in a state of enjoyment. There were no relatives, happiness and unhappiness, good, bad, likes and dislikes. There was nothing. Just pure enjoyment was there. Whereas the Rakshasas or the demons on the earth had a dual existence. They liked certain things, they had their enemies, their friends. Many days. Their existence was in the phenomenon of duality. So they were on the earth. So the escape from this is samadhi, total annihilation of the ego, and but be one with the Brahma. So he becomes Brahma. Self-identity is lost. Identifying himself with Brahma, he becomes Brahma himself. But when Brahma appears before him, he remembers all the desires that he had. He gets anything. He is Brahma himself, so he is granting himself all the desires. That was the power. There is nothing else, which is why they became a great problem to deal with, even to the God himself. So he had to come down to different shape, place, time to deal with them, I think. What we today need is, in this time, certain things seem to be threatening. Some destruction, culmination of various conflicting forces to leading to a very disturbing time. I mean, you take up analysis of any subject, even when you examine the state of affairs in all the countries on the globe, things are not all right. People are not behaving in a manner that they deserve peace and protection. Every country is suffering. There is a constant conflict between the ruling government and the ruled people. Fortunately, it doesn't exist in America. America is the only country where there are no anti-government agitations. There is a grace of God behind this, in the shape of the Constitution of America, framed by those great men, Abraham Lincoln and those people. They were total human beings. They did not claim to be divine or something. Total, excellent, full, developed human beings. So that is working on the human plane, on the materialistic plane, very well. Talk of spirituality need not be there at all. So long as we can manage our material affairs in a civilized manner, the place of God doesn't erase. Still, people have brought religions along with them from various corners of the globe. They are living. So even the religious conflicts are not there in this country. So long as the human being is taken care of as a citizen, it's more than okay. India is a place of conflicts. We may say it has a great heritage. Along with the heritage, along with the most valuable spiritual tradition and heritage, is much more out of proportion negative forces also working. So an exclusive Hindu India has permanently ceased to exist in 1947. There is no Hindu India, there is no country for the Hindu on the globe today, even in future. So they have to coexist with others by behaving well, tolerating their intolerance. They have been told to tolerate intolerance. That is lesson they are now learning it the hard way. They have no choice. But there is no, which is why regularly an offense is committed against the beliefs, way of life, whether it is idol worship or this or that. It's always targeted and insulted and criticized and condemned as ignorance and things like that. But they cannot even respond violently. They cannot protest. So now they are learning to behave, lie low. You can have a great sense of pride about your great heritage inside of your heart, so long as you don't talk about it in public. That's a situation that has come to stay. You have no choice about it. But in every other country, that particular any country belongs to a certain hereditary culture. They have a country of their own. In 1947, I have written 2 sentences in that write-up also. In 1947-48, Israelites, Jews who had lost their motherland 2000 years ago, they got back their motherland. So 10,000-year-old motherland of the Hindus have been lost by the Hindus in the same year. So you have to analyze the Grahasthiti. What could be the power of those planets? And the Hindus are the worshippers of planets. Nobody worships the planets. Were they exclusively kind to the Hindus? Why? What is happening? See, if you want to relate the human experience, the current history, past history, future expected history, in terms of planetary positions, we have to examine certain limited phenomena, like we were discussing last time, the Jupiter-Saturn combinations, because I am discussing with you from the astrology point of view also. So, Jupiter stood always for a civilization, for culture, moral values, then religion, then spirituality, then values like sacrifice. This is A to Z, entire gamut of the positive side of life is ascribable to Jupiter. Well, Saturn is just a physical plane on which there could be a devil, there could be a sage. The physical body and his 5 senses and his equations with the rest of the world. And suppose you say about evolution, from the animal to the ape, from ape to the man, Homo sapiens, Homo erectus, and things like that. All things are this evolution is ascribable to Saturn. The inner core of these beings, slow development of civilization, religion, organization of life, public life, and organized governance of the country, these are all qualities of Jupiter. But they have never been, they have been meeting at many places every 18 years or 20, 30 years. Depending on the point on which they are meeting once in 20 years. There has been a regular progress in this combination. Progress of the combination of the physical material being and the inner development. So at one time, religiosity had touched the peak, its spirituality in India. Later everything went on declining. India serves as an excellent example of the history of mankind. Highest level of civilization, morality, knowledge of the cosmos and the divine presence and things like that, realizing the presence of God within himself, and especially again telling the common folks the pathway, whether idol worship or mantra, helping the common man to come grow in this direction. So a few great sages experience the God, they realize the very structure of the universe, and from there they decline, and then the country getting occupied, inner condemnation from some additional new forces being born to condemn the very trend of the Hindu religious development. All things happened totally. Now today ultimately the Hindu motherland has gone. So it's a culmination in 1947, which we are celebrating with flags and things. There is nothing like Hindu government, Hindu country left now. So the total history of about 10,000 years of Aryavarth, Bharata Bhumi, Bharata Desh, Veda Bhumi, the story has been completed in 1947. Yes, Hinduism cannot be killed by anybody, nor it doesn't die. It's a die-hard phenomenon. Not that it can ever claim to be it's to be reaching the same spiritual heights of the past. Nevertheless, these two planets will have to show us the future of this ancient land of Hindu India. Or now you can say now there is an American Hinduism, Indian Hinduism, and Indonesian Hinduism. They are all like that. I mean, even Hinduism has spread itself and it has entered into bottles of different colors. So it continues. But what is the future? Which means this is, I mean to say the story has ended there. If you examine the Jupiter-Saturn combinations with reference to the other planetary positions on that day, the Jupiter and Saturn have joined in somewhere on the midpoint of Vrishchika Rashi. On that day, at that moment, what is the position of the other planets? This is actually the origin of the phenomenon. The other planets are only executors. They implement what is indicated by these two planets. They are, in a way, Jupiter and Saturn deal with the physical and the inner life of mankind. And whatever decision this combination take, it is implemented by the other planets, day to day, day by day, in outer external world. So it is worthwhile examining in this light. And ultimately, I found that Jupiter and Saturn are combining on the same, not only degree, but minute, and even the second, on 21st night, 2020. That's the culmination of this history. Might be starting in 2012, it culminates. So, when Jupiter and Saturn become, Saturn cannot become Jupiter. Jupiter can become Saturn. That's how anything flows from higher level to the lower level. Surface. The touchstone of revival of culture depends on the respectable distance maintained by Jupiter from Saturn. Here, Jupiter is meeting Saturn in Saturn's own home, not in Jupiter's home. That's very important. Therefore, the influence is that of Saturn. The subordination and submission is by the Jupiter. This seems to be a very interesting thing. If our culture of spirituality and human values and things like that have started in Hindustan or in the Aryavart long before Ramayana times, you can put that period as the revelation of Vedas, something like 10,000 years before Christ. By the times of Ramayana, Rama's birth and things like that, the spirituality was had its highest development, and the Vedas were revealed, they were brought down to the earth. While barbarism, just animal-like human beings might be taking evolution in some other places, but this was therefore known as the Aryavart. Somehow, by destiny, by whatever reasons we cannot explain, the sub-Himalayan foothills of Himalayas, the Saraswati river, Brahmaputra, this region was chosen by the destiny of mankind for the starting of the highest wisdom, which is to be spread all over. The rest of the story, you know. So if this combination is the last post of this superhuman values among the human beings. So what is it? What is the destiny holding for us? I don't say total annihilation and all that. I mean, civilization may continue, but many major changes, political, physical, and natural changes might occur, geological, geophysical, maybe in many things. So this is the destiny indicated by this combination of these two planets. How this destiny is going to be executed by the other planet is to be studied. Like in the White House, a decision is taken. When the orders are issued to various departments, they implement it. Like this is a combination, Jupiter-Saturn combination, the midpoint of the 60 degrees. Capricorn Aquarius, 60 degrees, exactly at the midpoint, which is the headquarters of Saturn.
Using that analogy of the White House and the decision, if you make a decision in the White House, it usually takes a little while for the decision to actually be implemented. Is it the same thing with this?
That's the analogy. I mean, easy to find and understand the phenomenon. That way all the other planets are subordinate to this combination. One is spirit, one is matter. Saturn is the matter, Jupiter is the spirit. But who is submitting to whom? Jupiter is entering into the headquarters of Saturn and shedding his individuality. Jupiter seems to be shedding his individuality, becoming one with the Saturn. So that is the ultimate level of materialistic domination over spirit. Spirit is the origin of moral development, spiritual development, understanding of the man. As long as the scientists say they have understood everything about the cosmos, it's obvious that they have not understood the inner spirit of cosmos. That that's not their object of attention at all. They don't want to discover the God in the cosmos. They want to discuss what is the size of the huge thing rolling in the skies. What is the direction? Is there water on it? Is there life on it? Is there intelligence? This investigation may ultimately lead to some more lots of information on the computer. It doesn't benefit the man. To realize that there is a great force pervading the entire universe and he is the sustainer, that force has its intelligence, his attitude, natural attitude of that force is to protect the beings, make them evolve into wisdom. This is a different attitude. But this implementation by these combinations, decisions by the other planets is our future. So in December you will find I am in Mercury and here and there, near Mercury, Venus, they are close by. And that is worth reading. And Sephariel's mundane astrology you can study. In fact, he was the first man who gave some importance to Jupiter-Saturn combination. Described in just 2 sentences, their combinations are, the conjunction is moving backwards on the zodiac. But he didn't elaborate, he didn't go casually, he mentioned it. Way back about 100 years nearly.
But you can go back in history and look at all those conjunctions, and
Yes.
it's always associated with some kind of political upheaval or problem or something.
Yeah. And Several has given a list of the regions on the globe being governed by some planets and Rasis. So the Rasi in which this combination has taken place, what is that Rasi? Which part of the globe that Rasi is ruling? And at that time, what were the planets at that time of conjunction? What followed later? This is the approach to unravel the mystery. I think we can easily decipher at least 50% of the story. The rest is, all the characters in the drama are behind the curtain. They would come only scene after scene. They don't all appear in the first scene itself. Characters have to come one by one from behind the curtain, scene by scene. But the other planets would definitely indicate. And every 20 years it is taking place. And this, I also found, maybe it may not be significant, this combination of Saturn and Jupiter on this particular point, as we mentioned now, is the 100th combination. Exactly from beginning of the Christian era. Very interesting. 100th combination. 100 is a very significant. There is only one single digit followed by 2 zeros. But it indicates something completion. The completion of a phenomenon. Completion of a process. 100 is always indicating the completion of a process. The element of completing of a process is indicated by 100. So what is that is that's going to be completed on this day? It's a very interesting thing. And earlier combinations had definitely indicated certain, for example, crusades or earlier 6th, 7th century, the turmoil that birth of Muhammad, then Makkah and Medina, how they killed each other, how Makkah temple was totally destroyed by Muhammad, all the idols were destroyed. And these things, I found some of the combinations, but vaguely I didn't have the time to go deep into it. That's why, which is why I am narrating my observation to you. This is worthwhile study. Astrology is definitely a key to certain major events. In the case of an individual, and what happens to him, gains, losses, health, ill health, they are not very important in the case. In fact, they can be indicated from the time of his birth for a while. How long? Is it maybe 100 years? That's all about it. But these combinations applicable to the whole world are worthwhile studying. They are bound to reveal many things. And our history can be traced to these combinations to some extent. What happens is, definitely there is a horoscope definitely working, whether people believe it or not. Even the non-believer has his own horoscope. His disbelief is also indicated in the horoscope. But that there is nobody independent from the planets at all. This is a very simple thing. But more worthwhile study is the destiny of the globe, development of science. 3 days ago, I found an interesting story, news item in New York Times. They reported that Copernicus, who was buried 500 years ago unceremoniously as a condemned man, about 3-4 days ago, the body was taken out again by the Pope and given all the ritual and accepted as a true Catholic and given a decent burial in the name of Jesus. So Copernicus has been it's happened 4 days ago. About 3 days ago I saw the news item. So something is, the man's original thinking is also being acknowledged. It's a good step forward. Pope Benedict is a nice man. In fact, I have very high opinion about him. He's a soft-spoken, nice man. He wishes all people well. But in the process, maybe some commissions and omissions may be there. He is not responsible for what has happened at all. Maybe he has turned his face away, but certain things are happening. What is the use of exposing the entire church and destroying their respectability? Not correct also. But there are some people all the time keen on exposing only the bad. They don't report anything good about it. Anything bad, and with microscopic vision they would like to expose. Well, Pope Benedict is a nice man. He has done many things. He went to Poland as a German. He apologized to the Polish people for what has happened in Hitler's time. He went and prayed there. Very positive man. Well, these are all matters in which certain reformatory things are taking place. As to why Copernicus was taken out from his insignificant, disrespectful grave and given respect today, maybe some combination of Jupiter. Something must be there.
Jupiter and Pisces.
In Pisces. Maybe about, I say 11 degrees or something like that. Good. So it's a good indication. And Saturn's aspect on Jupiter also is helping Virgo. So I thought that is a significant event. And normally, although the Copernicus has been proved to be the right, as against the belief in the religion, long ago, 100 years ago he was proved to be right. Why did this happen only now? More than it's nearly 150 years ago.
Now it's safe.
Very strange thing. So, heliocentric and geocentric controversies are still. There are, some people even in India who honestly believe that sun is going around the earth. But they are seemingly the right. But the facts of astronomy are different from the religious beliefs. It's not only in this Italy at that time. There are some such similar phenomena existing in India also, but very insignificant corners, because they all follow the Panchang and the astronomical combinations every day for religious ritual. Panchang is a religious calendar, not a workaday calendar to calculate wages and things like that. So for all public life we are adopting the Gregorian calendar. Only for religion we are following the Panchanga.
So what do you think of the use of the Panchanga factors for Muhurta? For mundane Muhurtas, not religious Muhurtas, but just setting up a time for a business to start or those sorts of things.
It is applicable totally to the United States also. The only thing, rising time and setting time could be different, but the planet in this sign is very much there, whether it is India or US. The picture of the heavens is not changing. Only the rising sign is changing. It's a local phenomenon. That way even in India, the rising time, sunrise in my place and sunrise in Delhi, difference is 18 minutes is there. So the Lagna is could be different, totally applicable. I ascribe Jupiter-Saturn combination in and around Virgo repeatedly about 200-300 years ago. That has been the responsible force for the development of this country into a with great future, assertion in the leading power of the whole world. That has these two combinations, two planetary combinations are in and around Virgo. Could be Karkataka Rashi, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, things like that. That is the region that governs this mostly in the development of the United States. And that is these 3 or 4 signs are the safest signs in the entire zodiac. I have some impression of that. They are safest, whatever good has happened. And significantly many Puranic events also occurred during those times when influence was there on that. These are the places where Jupiter is from Cancer to Tula, from Cancer to Libra. These two planets have their exaltation place, Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn in lifestyle. That's the safest, which is why it is significantly good for the mankind. Anything wrong, even eclipses in these signs have given bad results.
Have bad results?
Yes,
Yeah.
bad results. Some eclipses that happened in this region given us bad results. Otherwise, many good things happen when good planetary combinations took place here. Mercury is exalted, Sun is one place, Moon is one place, Jupiter is exalted, Saturn is exalted. That's a 90 degrees quadrant of the zodiac. More attention should be paid to this. So far as the Sagittarius is concerned, that is the direction in which the solar system is running at enormous speed. It doesn't mean solar system is anywhere close to Sagittarius. They are far, far off. It's like a small dot that we call the solar system. This dot, this spot is running in the limited space. Sagittarius and Pisces, they are all far, far away. They are nowhere near us. This is a large circle of zodiac. At the center, in a small way, around the center of the vertical axis, solar system is moving. Solar system is this much. It is moving. We have no size at all to describe. Earth is insignificant. Earth is an atom. Even within the size of this total solar system, taking up to the Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. In fact, we are important to ourselves. We are nothing in this universe. If that is realized, our sins are washed away. We will run on the right lines. Our future is assured. We have no fear of any bad day. Insignificance ascribed to the mankind and the earth would be the best solution to all the people, leaders should think. I mean, this kind of egocentric, and I am going to decide the destiny of United States. I will reform entire world. In those days, you remember, Jesus was also influenced by the general trend of belief that the end of times is nearing. Whole time God is sending somebody to save the whole world, and the last day of judgment is very near future. Jesus also believed it, but by that reason he did not misbehave with anybody. He was a benefactor of mankind. If somebody thinks that I am the maker of the creation, he is bound to destroy himself. So, always people believe that the last day is arriving, end of the whole world, end of creation, day of judgment, things like that. So that sense of fear always existed. Just from those, it was probably in 36 AD, the first Jupiter-Saturn combination occurred. And Moses or somebody, very important follower of Jesus, was again put to death on that day. Exactly on that
St.
day.
John, was that St. Peter?
About 36 AD.
36 AD, or St. Paul, one of those two.
Paul. Yes.
Paul, right.
Paul was put to death.
Yeah.
That strengthened Christianity.
Yeah.
Sometimes a great insult done to a good religion or school of thought boosts up its respectability. So yes, you are right. Paul was put to death. Then 56 again, 36 and 56 AD. Another significant combination. By that time, the Christianity was very well established. It has been accepted. And then the Byzantine Empire, they used to oppose. Finally, Pope, the ruler of that country, he introduced the New Testament, accepting Christianity in Italy. There was tooth and nail opposition to this. One emperor accepted it, Augustine. St. Augustine was there, and then Pope Gregory came later.
It makes sense that it would have an effect on organized religion because Jupiter is the karaka for organized religions and
Yes.
beliefs.
It is. In fact, I found step by step the Christianity also gained popularity, acceptance, and opposition slowly died down, and it got the official seal of acceptance of the New Testament. Things happened. In those days, they are very significant events for the whole globe at that time. They are not unimportant. But all religions and the belief of people in religion and God, they are now becoming subordinate to the politics. Religion is not dominating politics. Religion is subordinate. Political interests are dominating people. If at all, they are taking religion as a something a stick to beat with. Condemn somebody on the basis of the religion, not tolerance. In politics, religion has no strong voice. If at all, it is the object of condemnation by politicians. Who condemns a religion? Politician doesn't believe in it. And the split personalities, when a politician has religion in his house, condemns the religion in the public, things like that. And although it was an unwritten rule of the United States to have only a Catholic as a president. So far there has been no deviation. Obama, a pure Catholic only ought to be the president of America. That has been followed, unwritten rule. This is a deviation now. Like Vishaka star, after Swati. Well, this is a deviation. It's good. These are all significant events and ascribable to these two combinations, surrounded by other planets to execute the decision taken. That is the picture I have in my mind. So I thought I would speak once again about it.
Speaking of the strength of Jupiter and its relation to religion, I think it's interesting that if you do charts for countries, you can see the tone of that country, the personality of that country, and there's a chart for the Islamic Republic in Iran. And that chart has Jupiter in Cancer in the first house, Hamsa Yoga.
Yeah.
They come into their Jupiter period in 2012, which I think is kind of interesting, coming out of Rahu, which looks, into a very powerful period. I'm going to be curious as to what that will
Iran
bring.
will be the theatre of whether it's a war or peace. It's going to be very significant. China is a country of religion. It has no place in the world at all. It's just materialism, gross materialistic view of life, with absolutely no respect for any religion for that matter. That's one extreme. The birth of China as a republic also is significant. Saturn was very powerful, Jupiter was very weak. These things have happened. And that region of the combination, a particular Rashi in which this combination has taken, was indicating China. The Sephiril has nicely allotted regions to Rashi. India has only a past, like an old man. As I said yesterday, when somebody talks about his future, he is young. A man who talks of his past is old. So Indians, as an 82-year-old Indian, I keep talking only about our past, like myself. So we are past masters. But yet, an analysis of the past can throw some light into the dark corners of unknown future. The past alone is the torch. It can certainly, as much as we know our past, so much is the future revealed.
If you look at the horoscope for the United States, they just entered a Mars period, and if you go back 120 years and study the events of the previous Mars period, it's identical, absolutely identical.
Exactly.
Same thing. We had a mortgage crisis, bank failures, stock market crash, unemployment, big companies breaking up. All those things happened back in the 1800s, exactly during the Mars cycle.
That's right, that's right.
So you're right. You can look at history, and history repeats itself.
History is our future. I mean, the future is not suddenly born. It doesn't come to us from nowhere. It's the sequential happening of the past. Past is unfolding itself. And every event is traceable to the past phenomenon. We have to have a more analytical approach in the horoscope. Rather than mundane astrology is, I think it's getting more and more interesting. In the present context of things, when people are all afraid, they are in jitters about what is going to happen, whether it is super volcano of Wyoming or tectonic plates clashing each other, or something with the ice melting from the North Pole and South Pole, and global warming and things like that, and then the ozone layer getting split. So many natural phenomena. At least Earth is also undergoing a very important stage. There is a finding. The solar system has recently, in 2005, just now entered into a region thickly loaded with charged particles, like never before. In several billions of years, solar system has never entered into such dangerous region in space. It is so densely clouded with dangerously charged particles. Now, at the same time, the effect is, in the space, solar system is experiencing an effect that is being translated from the sun to the planets. More significantly to the Venus, Mars and Earth. This is another scientific observation, I don't know what it is. But a compression of the solar system's space has taken place, setting it on motion dangerous waves, hitting the sun and reflecting from the sun onto the other planets. And there can't be any danger situation to Mars, and if at all there is a danger, because we are living on the Earth. Life and intelligence and civilization is existing on this planet. What does Mars have to do? To lose? Mars does not have anything to lose. For that, Mercury doesn't have anything to lose. Of all the planets, of the 5 planets, is this more important? The 4th planet is. Astronomers are now thinking seriously about this phenomenon. And after this happened, in 2005, within a few months later, the Earth on its orbit passed a particular point maybe it was in the month of June or something, in the orbital motion of the Earth around the Sun. It passed a particular point. About exactly 2.5 hours, 2 hours 30 minutes after the Earth passed that point, a major catastrophe happened on that point. And then several meteors, a group of meteors, and dangerous, huge bodies from the space crossed at that point. If it had happened coincidentally 2.5 hours before that, this had happened, coincided, the scientists say Earth would have been destroyed totally. That passed that point, and then meteors and dangerous objects from the space cross this point exactly. So there has been this kind of a protection by the Creator. We believe in the Creator. It is possible. And there is no rule that such things don't happen in future. Meteors are hitting the Earth, and most of them are insignificant. Like in Kaaba, Makkah, it's only meteorite they are worshipping. They call the representation of Allah, message of Allah and things like that. It's a meteorite. But a small meteorite that had descended on the earth and embedded on the earth in Makkah, receives that kind of attention by the home. Billions of people, millions of people worship it every regularly. That becomes, it rules the minds and belief of millions of people, hundreds of years. What is that stupid meteorite? Who gave that so much power to that? Something we don't know. Very strange things. Strange things. That must be, if all of that meteorite must be somewhere connected with the Jupiter-Saturn combination of one day. As to exactly when it came to the earth, we don't have a date before us. 614 is the Prophet Muhammad's time. Long before that, people that were surrounded by several deities. The God of love, God of hatred, God of strength, God of weakness, God of so many. For everything there is a God, like in Hindu pantheon. All the gods were being worshipped around this meteorite. They were all destroyed in 650, between 614 650, around that time, by Prophet Muhammad. Makkah, Medina, disputes, and Muhammad running away, escaping to Medina. These are all, I found, combinations of Saturn and Jupiter in significant places. And as against the benefic nature of this quadrangle, that is Cancer, Tula, Leo, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and Balance, Tula. This is the most benefic part of the zodiac system. It appears to be all good things have happened when the planets were influencing this region. The exact opposite of it is from Makar Rashi, that is Capricorn to Aries. That's the opposite of the elements of destruction of whether civilization or anything, or the globe itself. It is there. And today you have the precision of the equinox is there in Pisces. And by the time it will be another 4 centuries at the most when it enters the Aquarius. So whether there is an oscillation or continuous motion, that all that is different. But there is some very significant part of significant time in the history of mankind itself is starting now, in this century. Because in the last 100 years we have developed the most destructive weapons, nuclear weapons. It's a very great leap in the development of science. We have also developed the art of science of space travel, walking on the moon, now directly hitting the Mars and things like that. They are all scientific examples. All these things, when the Saturn enters, about 1.5 years later, he is coming to Tula Rashi, the balance. That should be a further progress of materialism, is travel in the Tula Rashi. In this context, we can slowly study and note down a few observations and pull them up, which makes a history of the future, I am sure. Horoscopy is good. How is not more important. Anybody's, whether we predict good or bad, the total life of the man is not more than a few decades. In fact, the astrologers must devote more attention to the mankind's horoscope. Please eat something. Tomorrow and after I am here, 26th and 27th, 28th morning I am leaving. Today comparatively we are more free because we don't have too many people.
Yeah.
No, we are able. But my prayers for this region, for this country, and its equations with my motherland, I have done somewhat of my satisfaction these 4 weeks. I could get some sort of an assuring signals. Hopefully prayers would not go waste. Some good developments will take place here and in India, and equations with the other Muslim world. Ultimately, whatever might happen, we have to invoke the grace and kindness of the Lord. I didn't spend my time in institutions and temples. I spent my time with my own kith and kin all around. It's a satisfaction for me. And both ends, landing in New York, spending 14 days there, flying here, spending 14 days, stay put here. So both ends of this country. My prayers as I intended, everything has gone on without interruption.